What a great song. Every 4th of July, I love listening to Lee Greenwood sing, God Bless the USA. And there's a line in that song that says, where at least I know I'm free. I love that. But today I started thinking about how do we know we're free? And what does freedom actually mean? I mean, everybody goes out and celebrates the 4th of July and talks about the fact that America is a free country. But I think a lot of us have forgotten or never even really knew what freedom really means in this context. Is being in a free country all about the right to do whatever you want, no matter what the consequences? Is that what the founding fathers meant by a free nation? Or did they have something entirely different in mind when they talked about wanting to create a nation where all men were free? You see, they looked to God and His Word when they came up with the idea of freedom and setting mankind free. They were trying to follow in the footsteps of Christ, and they weren't setting men free to do whatever they wanted. They were setting men free from something. It's much different to be set free from something than to be free to do something. Let's talk about that. You see, the Bible in Galatians 5:1 says, it was for freedom that Christ set us free. Therefore, keep standing firm and do not be subject again to a yoke of slavery. In other words, Christ's freedom is a freedom from something. Previously, we were slaves, and now we're free in Christ. What was it that held us captive? What was the bondage that we experienced before we had freedom? The Bible tells us that that bondage was the bondage to sin, because our very nature as mankind holds us captive to sin. The Apostle Paul talked about how no matter how hard he strived, no matter what he wanted to do, something inside of him always fought against that and tried to drag him back into slavery to sin. You see, being physically in bondage or slavery is not as bad as being a slave to something deep inside of you that you feel powerless to deal with. In the deepest dungeon of the worst prison in the world, people are free to be as sinful in their thoughts as someone walking the street. In that cell, a man can have perverse delusions about himself and deny that he is who God made him and pretend that he is something totally different. But this was not the kind of freedom that God was talking about when He decided to send His Son to free us from slavery. Nor was it the freedom that our founding fathers were talking about when they began the process of building a nation that was free. Their idea was to set men free from a government that told them how they were supposed to react to God and how they could follow Him and the things that they must not do to follow Him. You see, as a free country, we're free to do what's right, no matter what the government thinks, or the majority for that matter. In the Bible, it says you were called to freedom, brothers, only do not turn your freedom into an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. Galatians 5:13. Being free doesn't mean that we run amok. Being free means that we have the opportunity to overcome the things that force us into a certain line of behavior, to learn what's right and to pursue it. 1 Peter 2:15 says this, for such is the will of God, that by doing right you may silence the ignorance of foolish men. So act as free men and do not use your freedom as a covering for evil. The Bible also says that in hope, we could see the creation itself also be set free from its slavery to corruption and into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. On this Independence Day, revisit the idea of freedom. and realize that God's freedom is not a freedom to do whatever makes you feel good at the moment, in spite of the horrendous consequences to both your physical self and your eternal soul. Freedom is to cast off the bonds of the corruption that is inside of you, to be clean and spotless, and to walk in a new life and be transformed, to be more like Christ, to act like Him. And in spite of the people around you who do not want to hear this, to be free to speak about it and to show them a better way. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. And may God bless you in the United States.
The men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
I hope that you got a lot out of it. Please give it a big thumbs up by clicking the thumbs up icon below this video. And if you want to get the next video as soon as it comes out and be notified of anything else that we do, click the subscribe button below. Right next to me are 2 more videos in this series. If you haven't seen those yet, take a look. And if you have any questions on this topic or any other topics that you might want me to cover, leave me a comment below and I'll try to get to it. Thank you very much again, and God bless you.